Welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, and I thought today we would discuss stuff that we normally carry as a bare minimum in the shop. So what I'm going to try to show you is stuff that I would recommend to you if you're just starting out, where you don't need a lot of inventory. You just need stuff to help facilitate and get your stuff in, get your stuff out quickly. All right, stay tuned. Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, and I thought today I'd kind of give you what I think would help you guys out that are just starting out as far as what inventory to carry and why you need to carry it. Alright, so the bulk of you guys, when you get into the business, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be servicing people's riding lawnmowers, their snow blowers, and so forth. So you have to think along the lines of what is the general service on most pieces of equipment? Well, that would be a spark plug, fuel filter, oil filter, oil. So we need to start there, right? So by starting there, you don't need to buy it by the big cases like we do. They sell them by the 4-packs. Most of your distributors out there won't let you buy just one. You're going to have to buy 4. Is usually the minimum. So what should you stock on the shelf that are the fastest movers? And that would be, our fastest mover is the 12C or the RC12YC. And the rotary number is 71055 if you want to know what that is. That's probably our fastest mover. And in the RCJ6Y and the 8Y are fast movers for us. You know, it doesn't matter whether you get Champion, Bosch, you know, NGK. It's whatever your preference is. You know, a lot of times we grab Champion, and it's not because we think one is better than the other. It's just that's how it ends up being. The other one that's a fast mover is the RJ19LM. And again, I would get a 4-pack of them. So there's your spark plugs. Let me set these down out of the way so that we can look at other stuff. So what do we figure is going to be next, right? Well, what's going to be next is oil filters. And I would stock these 4 different ones. And why these 4 different ones? The majority of riders that you're going to encounter are either going to be Kohler, Briggs, Kawasaki, or Honda. Those are the main ones out there. Kohler takes the bigger one, just like this. Now Briggs, this is the standard Briggs filter, and this is the one that's a one step up that I like better as far as removing particulates in the oil and lasting longer because you have more space in there. But the big thing with this is how much room have you got when you shut that cover down? A lot of times with most of the mowers out there, you've only got enough room for the small one. But if you have room for the bigger one, go with the bigger one. And then the small Honda and Kawasaki. These are mainly on the John Deeres, all right? So there's your oil filters. Next, your fuel filters, right? So the one that we use the most, and I'm going to try giving you guys part numbers. If you deal with rotary, I mean, these rotary numbers will cross to Stens, and Stens numbers will cross to rotary. Or if you're going through, I mean, Gardner Canal, or if you're going through power distributor, it's wherever you're getting it from. But the number on this is a 12619, and it replaces the 1/4 and 5/16. And we use these on almost every rider that comes through here, and they work very well for us. Now, they are directional, and the one thing I like about with the rotary, when you get it, you will find that there is an arrow here, and it's showing the flow is going this way. Most people would think, well, it looks like it should go this way. Well, it's not going to work if you put it that way. You need to go with the directional of where the flow is pointing, and that is this direction. So you're coming off your tank or your fuel pump, coming to here, and then going from there to your carburetor. They're, like I say, you'll want, these here are a bag, I think 10 of them. And you'll go through 10 of them pretty fast in the summer if you're doing any kind of work. These are the smaller ones, and these are the ones that you find on the snow blowers and a lot of the older rigs and that stuff. And the part number on that's a 1349, and that's a 10-piece. And it basically says, you know, for Briggs and Stratton and for Toro is what they recommend them for. Alright, where do we go next? Well, we jump to tire tubes. You're going to go through a lot. One of the fastest movers that we have are running lawnmower front tires. And the bulk of them are 6-inch. You want to make sure you get the straight stem. I made a mistake a few years back of thinking, well, one is just as good as the other, and they had the L-shaped on sale. They are a pain in the backside when it comes to, once you get it mounted, trying to get air in them. If at all possible, stay with the straight stemmed tubes, front and back. And with these, it's, if you have decent tread on the tires that are on your customer's machine, but it's some reason air is getting away from somewhere, I do not recommend Fix-A-Flat, and Claude hates people that puts Fix-A-Flat and then brings it to him to try to fix because it's all that just slop. Fix-A-Flat has never worked for us. I can tell you that much right now. When replacing or when you're putting a tube in and you're not sure where the air is coming out of, it could be just simply a little bit of weather checking. But this is where I want you to listen and be very, very careful. Is don't take your hand and go around the inside of the tire to try to see if there's anything there. Take a shop rag, a thicker shop rag, and use that. And why do I say use that? Well, it's because if you don't, you will cut your hand on any sharp object that is in that tube. And you need to remove it out of the tube before you put the tire tube in. But don't stick your hand and go around. Alright, so this part number is a 7811, and we get these through Rotary. I would have at least 2 on hand. Same deal. These are the 7828s. They're the 2x8x10s, one of the most common rear tire. I mean, you're going to get some, the bigger John Deeres that take the 12s, but I'm trying to give you ones that are the most common that you're going to use a lot. So there's your tubes. I would carry 2 of each. What's next? Let's go to rope. Rope is not rope. We carry in the shop the 3.5, the 4.5, the 5.5, the 4, and this one here is the number 7. These are all 100-foot rolls. I would recommend that you carry a roll of each. Now, the 3.5 is 3/32. It's a 100-foot roll. And the part number is 11737. The 4 is 11738. The 4.5 is 11739. The 5.5 is 11741. And then, of course, this one here is Sten's, and this is their number 7 100-footer, and it looks like a 145 628. But just look, find the one that says it's the size 7 with this one. You will use a lot of rope, whether it's chainsaws, weed eaters, snow blowers, you know, push mowers, etc. Alright, let's go on to trimmers. I recommend in the shop that you carry a couple different sizes, and you need to know how to install these onto customer machines. And there's so many YouTube videos out there that are showing this, you know, in detail. So just check YouTube, and if you can't find it, let me know. I'll do one on it. But they come in the small clamshells. These are pre-cut for the walk-behinds, where you just pop them into place. And then this here, I sell to some of my contractors 2 or 3 of these a year. You know, you don't need this. You just need a couple of these and a couple of these for the guys that are doing the walk-behinds, that you can get them going. Let's put that down. What else do we have on there? Alright, so let's go with some of the different stuff that we use here in the shop a lot. This is carburetor choke and part cleaner. We use this every day, all day it seems. And we go through cases of it. Now, I like stable. Question you're going to ask me is, well, what about the ones at Walmart? Will they work? Absolutely. That's how we started out. And I mean, Walmart was our best friend for oils, everything. We would go there and buy it. What I found, you know, in the last year or two, it's hard to try to find the carburetor cleaner because it's usually sold out. Now, yes, is stable a little more money? Yeah, but I think it's a lot better quality too. I mean, it just works for us. And this can be used from everything from parts cleaning, for your carburetors, to clean your orifices out. You just take and put the little piece on it where you spray it right in. And this is also used for starting lawnmowers that have sat through the winter and to help get the fuel up. Now, I've had too many customers, and that's why I'm going to say something about it, tell me, oh, well, I just use starter fluid. No, don't use starter fluid on your small engines and stuff. And why not? Well, starting fluid is something that's going to dry out your cylinders so that you're not getting lubricated cylinders for the piston to ride up and down. So you're going to score the inside of that throat if you use very much of it. This will not do that. This here is lubricated and is safe to use on all your 2-cycle, 4-cycle, what have you. Please use this and not starting fluid. Starting fluid, leave that for the diesels. And most of the starting fluid now for the diesels that we're buying, because I have a diesel tractors, they've come out with, I get it through John Deere, but it's a lubricated starting fluid for my diesels because I don't want it drying out the cylinder walls and damaging that machine every time we use it. So I highly recommend stable. Get a couple cans of it, go use it. Chain lube. You know, this is basically just white lithium grease that you can apply precisely with the stem here. You just push it in there and you can spray it to lubricate things. I would say 1 can will probably last you the season for most of what you're going to see. This is going to be your best friend, PB Blaster. It's called liquid wrench for a reason. You know, we have used this time and time and time again. And the biggest thing when you're using this is you have to give it a little bit of time. So if you've got something that's rusted up and, you know, once you apply this, let it go 5-10 minutes before you go over there and put a socket on it. And this stuff will work wonders for you. Like I say, we go through a lot of it, but if you have at least one can, that's fine. Fluid film. This is one of the products that we sell a lot of in the wintertime. And why in the wintertime do we sell a lot of this? Well, this here we have found that when Stens first came out with it, that they started offering it to us. What we found was if you took in on your snow blowers and you took and sprayed the whole inside throat when you first started the season off, and then a couple times during the season, it wouldn't allow the snow to build up and, you know, freeze onto the unit. This here will just stick right to the metal and the snow will just slide right off. And it's just a great product overall. We don't use it much in the summertime, but we love it in the wintertime, and we encourage our guys with snow blowers. If you don't have a place to get it in where it's heated every time you get done with it, this is a lifesaver because it'll keep all the snow from freezing onto your machine. Again, none of these products are sponsored. I'm trying to tell you what I think is best to get you guys into the game without breaking the bank, okay? You're going to want to carry grease, and more so in the summertime, to be honest with you. Because during the summer months, you're going to have spindles on mower decks you have to grease, spindles where your steering goes. You know, there's grease fittings on a lot of machines and in a lot of places. So you're going to want to invest in a grease gun and some all-purpose grease. You know, it doesn't have to be, you know, this is the high grade heavy duty that we use for our tractors. And this is the one that we use in the shop for the lawnmowers. Both will work. All right, your mixes. When it comes to mixing up 2-cycle, they sell it in the synthetic and the non-synthetic. Is basically the two types. Stens puts it out, Rotary puts it out. A lot of your OEMs have their own brand that they put out, but it all basically boils down to the same thing. It's just giving your 2-cycle the lubricant that the 4-stroke is sucking up from the base. You're giving it to the pistons and rings and stuff through the gas instead of having it come up through the base to keep everything lubricated. If you can, I would strongly recommend use the synthetic. And why the synthetic? It's because the synthetic will last a lot longer, keep your engine in a lot better shape, and you'll have less problems. And that's the goal, right? Is to keep our machines running as long as possible over years. And you'll find that you can sell this to customers too. You know, it's not just for your own use. If you got some on the shelf extra that you can sell, that would be great too. So that covers that. I don't know if any of you guys are getting into the boats and stuff like that and the snowmobiles, because we have like the fogging oil that Bombardier puts out, and you just spray it while it's running and it'll fog the whole system and just lubricate everything so that when you get ready to use it the following season, everything isn't all rusted up and seized up. Great for snow machines and boats. Now, when it comes to your oil in the shop, where should you buy? If I were first starting out, I would buy from Walmart, and I would buy like the 1030, and I would get the synthetic. It's a little bit more, but you know, you want the life of the machine to last as long as possible. And for what little bit more you're going to spend to go synthetic is so much better. So if you're first starting out, Walmart. Other places you can get it are Napa. You can get it at Tractor Supply. And and that goes with a hydraulic fluid for your hydro gears too, but you don't need to get into that unless you start seeing a lot of zero turns that have the where you can add to it. Here's another one that you guys are going to want, and this is Fast Orange, and we go through a lot of this. We carry this in the shop, and then we have a smaller one that we carry out in the field with shop rags, because you can just take and put it on and then take shop rag and take the grease right off your hands, and it works really, really well. So I highly recommend that. A couple other things that, you know, for things that will help you in the shop, and that's getting a decent, you don't have to get top of the line, but a decent multimeter so that you can do checks on wiring and stuff for ohms. When it comes to, you're going to want some kind of a battery charger. This is what I classify as an entry level. You know, we have 3 of the big ones that are on wheels, and we love those. But we started out with one of these, and if you're just starting out and you're on a budget, the idea is to not overspend and buy what you need and not what you want. This is what you're going to need, because you're going to get customers' machines in that the batteries are dead on, that they've been sitting, and you need to find out if you could take a charge or not, and then get it charged back up for them. The other thing that's handy is this belt measuring stick. Rotary sells it, Sten sells it. If the belt's not broken, which a lot of times is shredded when it gets to you, then you can simply just put the belt right around it and then have it go tight. And one of the things you want to keep in mind when you're doing this, when you're measuring that belt, is that if that belt has been on the machine, whether it be a drive belt or a deck belt or what have you, it has stretched a little bit. So keep that in mind when you're measuring that that belt has stretched a little, so you're going to want to back it up a little. Does that make sense? And they have the slots. It tells you a 1/2 inch, 3/8 to 5/8, the thickness of the belts. So I hope me taking the time to just kind of go through this with you is going to help you get a good start on what you need in your little shop. And I'd also recommend that you get an entry-level computer system, and I would go with the laser printer versus the DeskJet, which you have the little cartridges, unless you're not doing a lot of printing. We go through a lot of ink if we went that direction. That's why I went to the lasers with the big cartridges. And we can buy a big cartridge for around $12 to put in our laser, and we've got 3 of those here at the shop. Other than that, it's just you and how you interact with the customer. That's what's going to be the selling point, is whether the customer trusts you enough to leave you with their machine. And you should always instill trust and honesty. So on that note, if you have any questions, put it in the comments, or if you have comments, put it in the comments. If there's something that I've missed, guys, that are already on our channel, you can add that to what I've already said for today. And if you are getting anything out of this, if you could like, subscribe, and share with your friends that are also, in the business or starting out, so that I just feel the more people that are involved, the better it is for all of us. Because, there's more than one way to skin a chicken, as my grandfather used to say. And I'm not saying my way is best, but I know that my way is going to get you in debt-free and allow you to start making money to grow. So on that note, you guys have a great day.